Good morning and welcome to Western New York at Work with Dale Martin and Lauren Lewis. And today we have Gerry Murak, the chairman of SoPark Electronic Manufacturing, right here in Western New York. Good morning and welcome to Western New York at Work with Dale Martin and Lauren Lewis, where each and every Saturday we bring you a collaborative conversation filled with ideas, innovation, success, and it all comes through the people that make it happen. Lauren, good morning.
Hi, Dale. How are you?
I miss you. It's been a while.
I mean, it's been months since we've seen each other in real life. And, again, thankful for the Zoom interaction that we are able to continue to do our show and talk with great leaders around Western New York.
I'd like to underscore the fact of great leaders that are each and every week that are joining us here on Western New York at Work. And today we have Gerry Murak, who is a management consultant. He is also part owner of one of Western New York's largest contract manufacturing companies here in the Buffalo area. Gerry, welcome to Western New York at Work.
Great to be here. Thanks. Good to see you, Dale and Lauren.
Yeah. Hi, Gerry. Thank you so much for joining us. It's really great to meet you virtually. I've always heard a lot about SoPark. So can you tell me and our viewers more about, who you are and what SoPark is?
I started out my career as actually a school teacher and went into industry. And after 7 years of teaching, there weren't enough children being born, and so teachers were getting laid off. And I wound up working for General Mills for 11 years. And seeing a number of consultants like General Mills was using, I saw an opportunity to create my own consulting practice in '91. So fast forward to the 2001, I was asked to consult SoPark and help them. I did a strategic plan, helped them to grow. They asked me back in 2006. They offered me, in lieu of my consulting fees, some equity. And then in 2012, they offered me the balance of the company.
Fantastic.
So I became sole owner of SoPark in 2012. And in January of 2019, I sold 51% to a woman that I hired in 2007 to SoPark, who was born and raised in Malaysia and has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and has worked in electronics in Malaysia, Singapore, Canada, and the last 20 plus years have been in the United States.
Wow.
So SoPark, to answer your other question, Lauren, is a contract electronics manufacturer. We don't make any finished product. What we produce is the complex circuit board assemblies that go into high-tech products. And those products are for manufacturing businesses, other manufacturing businesses, original equipment, what are called original equipment manufacturers. So we don't produce anything for the consumer market. What we produce is complex printed circuit board assemblies for advanced manufacturers whose their assemblies go into things such as flight simulators, motion control for factory equipment, high-speed factory equipment, for medical devices, ophthalmological equipment. And we are actually Western New York's largest contract electronics manufacturer with over 70 employees, running 2 shifts and using very highly automated equipment that can put down as many as 60,000 components in an hour. And some of those are, you're talking the size of a speck of salt or pepper.
Wow.
We also produce a device that's used in the Department of Defense that is no larger. The circuit boards are no larger than like a silver dollar size, and they have the most advanced electronics and components really in the industry, and these devices are worn by soldiers in the field of battle. And so it monitors the soldier's well-being. And We've been involved in a variety of projects, and it's really. I hope both of you someday can stop by after COVID and all the
Yeah.
restrictions to see what we do, because it's really amazing to witness.
I would absolutely
Great.
love that. I
Yes.
love learning about companies like this in Western New York. And I think there's so many people out there who don't know what SoPark is, or if they might have seen the sign or seen the name, but have no clue the vast scope of what SoPark manufactures. I mean, it's amazing when you hear about Department of Defense, medical products. It's unbelievable.
You know, in a good examples, when I got involved with the company the second time around in 2006 through the current, I said to the salesperson that I hired, I wanted them to open up the advanced technology and agriculture market. Uh, as we all know, farming isn't what it used to be
Right.
when we were an agrarian society 100 years ago, and horses drawing equipment. And today it's all large, very large automated equipment. And just to give you an idea of how sophisticated the technology is in agriculture, we produce printed circuit board assemblies that control, for a manufacturer of agriculture equipment, control the uh, dispensing of fertilizer, of moisture, all determined by soil samples it's picking up as it's moving down the field. And every 8 square feet, it can change what it's putting into the soil basis what it's getting, what data it's collecting from the soil. It's pretty amazing. A machine can do that while it's in motion, which is it's saving cost in fertilizer, it's saving cost in irrigation,
Hmm.
and so we didn't invent it. Our customer worked on the intelligence for this equipment. They needed circuit board assemblies that house the intelligence, and we put together those circuit board assemblies for them for just that purpose. But that's just one small example of how sophisticated, you know, manufacturing and equipment is to service all that we consume in terms of food or medical or et cetera.
Pretty amazing stuff. Gerry, you mentioned COVID a moment ago. How has this pandemic affected the company?
Well, in the beginning, as we all think back to March, which
Yeah.
who would ever thought it'd been that long that we'd be involved in this pandemic, and we're certainly not at the end of it either.
Hmm.
But back in March, every day was new information, and pretty much every hour of every day was new information
Mhm.
about what was happening related to the pandemic. So, uh, honestly, in March, I was spending, I would say, pretty close to 80, 90% of my time on some form of media or several forms of media at the same time, listening to newscasts, going online to look for announcements from Albany, from the governor's office, and so on and so forth, as well as I'm sit on the board of directors for MedTech in New York State,
Oh
and
yeah, that's a great
so
organization.
yeah, and so that organization was also heavily involved with medical device manufacturers in the state, and so following all those channels of communication, when COVID first unfolded, uh, we needed to know what we could or couldn't do.
Yes.
And we were literally on pins and needles wondering, do we have to lay everyone off? What's
Hmm.
happening? And then when they came up with the term essential business, they announced essential business, but there wasn't initially a definition.
Right.
So, so it was that, I'll just never forget that time at all. It was very intense. And once we got the definitions, the legal definitions, it applied to a variety of businesses that particularly supported the medical care industry and medical devices. So we knew we produced circuit board assemblies for medical devices. What we didn't know is how many other of our customers uh, also had circuit board assemblies that we were producing for their medical device. And the reason we didn't know is because the intellectual property is so sophisticated for electronics, and it's so critical that customers don't always tell us where the circuit board assembly goes, what kind of product it goes into, because they don't want their someone to reverse engineer their circuit board assembly to be a competitor. And so we decided to send an email to all of our customers saying, we understand the importance of your intellectual property, but we need to know, related to being classified as an essential business, of if any of the circuit board assemblies we produce for you go into a medical device. Much to our surprise, we learned that many of the assemblies we were making were going into medical devices that we weren't aware of previously. And they were able to share that in very general terms, which we were able to pass on to the state. So that meant that we could keep our employees working, but we had to comply with all the requirements of spacing, occupancy percentage, et cetera. And we split people's hours. We split their break times so that there were no more than a certain percent of the employees in the cafeteria at one time. So there are a lot of restrictions, and to this very day, we still comply with all the requirements. In fact, we exceed in the requirements. We're always looking to make sure that our employees are as safe as they can be, particularly during this pandemic.
Don't go anywhere, Western New York. We'll be right back after this short break with Gerry Murak, SoPark Corporation.
Western New York at Work is brought to you by our key business partners and many business professionals. Bocce's Club Pizza, Staff Buffalo, Buffalo Healthy Living, CAI, Hope Buffalo, Embassy Suites, 716 Limousine.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars. Really tall. I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands? Yes. You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu.
We don't have time for delays.
Ready!
We don't have time for spills.
Next.
We don't have time for setbacks. Let's be real.
Getting the flu shot
Helps you fight the flu.
Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
Welcome back to Western New York at Work with Dale Martin and Lauren Lewis. And we are back with Gerry Murak, Chairman of SoPark Corporation.
Okay. And Gerry, I'd like to add to the fact that with that increase in volume and sophistication of the type of work that you do, does this result in the need to, hire new skill sets or just increase the employment outlook within the company?
That's a great question. One of the things that happened was, because we serve diverse markets, as I've mentioned, defense and agriculture, et cetera. During COVID, a lot of these non-medical industries have in fact been experiencing reduced sales. So in turn, our circuit board assemblies produced for them declined during this COVID time. But medical picked up. So what really started to happen is some market segments really started to slow down. Medical significantly climbed. So when you take that all meant in the end is that we're just about even in terms of our sales for last year, but to different markets and mostly more in the medical space. Another example is we produce circuit board assemblies related to the petro industry. And because people aren't driving, people aren't commuting, they're working from home. And as we all know, the price of gasoline and crude oil has dropped significantly during COVID. Those customers that we were supporting in that arena, their sales went down. So, up and down, but overall, we haven't experienced any increased turnover, but we haven't really had to hire because of the shift in the markets.
It seems like you and your team at SoPark have really done a great job in pivoting and adjusting internally to meet the needs and demands of your customers, no matter which segment they fall into.
Yes, and I give the credit to Rupa Shanmugam, the woman that I hired in 2007, and she's done an amazing job of growing with the company over the years. And she's a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, but she's really grown as a business leader and now the president and CEO of the company, and rightfully so, 51% owner of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely knowledgeable, and she's able to orchestrate all these complexities of not just running the company, but navigating through the rough waters of COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's just been like you mentioned earlier, especially back in March and April, there was just so much uncertainty. Probably took a.
I'm sorry, but that causes me to pause because, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, you're fine.
That's an understatement. I mean,
I know.
The spring.
I think we've all faced it in our respective industries and businesses, and when you even say causes you to pause, we all paused back then, trying to just figure out, okay, how do we move forward through this pandemic, and what does it mean? What does it mean for business? What does it mean for our lives, our day-to-day lives? And it sounds like you guys have really took the time needed to adjust to the new COVID regulations to make sure all your employees are safe, which is definitely one of the most important things, is making sure safe, healthy employees are in your workplace, and they're being productive then, as long and they appreciate, I'm sure, that you are looking out for their safety and well-being as well.
No question. And we've got a great team, and we're so proud of them and the care that they take. It really has made a big difference to our customer base. And, we really couldn't ask for a better team of folks to be working at SoPark.
Okay. Gerry, here's a question that we received. With manufacturing being a somewhat male-dominated industry, are we starting to see a shift of women in leadership positions in manufacturing?
I'll give you a very real example here. When Rupa was getting her bachelor's degree in engineering, electrical engineering, in most of her classes, she was the only woman in her class. And today, I'm involved on a couple boards at the University of Buffalo and have been involved in various projects with not just the School of Management, the School of Engineering. And there's no question that you're seeing more women in the School of Business and the schools of engineering than you did even just a few years ago. And we're so proud of the fact that of our top 6 managers, 4 are women.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
That's amazing. More than 50%. That's huge. Congratulations.
Oh, yes. Well, thanks. And they all deserve it, and they're doing an excellent job, and they're doing an excellent job of running the company. The opportunities for women are there. I'll be very honest and realistic. I wish it was more companies that were open to women in leadership roles, more trusting of women in leadership roles, and they deserve that opportunity. And I can honestly say, in my 30 years of consulting, many times I've recommended to owners of companies that for different divisions and locations that they should consider women that have been high performing in the company. And sometimes they've resisted my recommendation, but I, very professionally insisted that they consider, and they haven't regretted it. I can think of a client that I helped establish their first U.S. presence. They're a Canadian corporation, and I recommended that they put a woman in charge of their U.S. operation. And to this day, she runs the best operation in their group of companies worldwide. It's just, women deserve a chance. Minorities deserve a chance. Everyone deserves a chance. It really should be who's best fit for the job and who gets the best results. And there shouldn't be limitations just because they're not a white male.
Speaking of sharing, Lauren, are there any things that you feel that we haven't touched upon in speaking with Gerry today?
I just really enjoyed learning more about Gerry's path and SoPark. I really think it's important, so many things you mentioned, Gerry, about just valuing your employees. And one of the things I want to touch back on a little bit was you mentioned like work-life balance. And, I think a lot of people's values or priorities maybe have shifted once the pandemic hit back in March, whether they have school-age children and trying to navigate the virtual learning, hybrid, in-person learning, whatever their situation might be. How has SoPark kind of adapted moving through this new normal with your employees?
Yeah, so one of the things that Rupa has done, and I give her the credit for because she's there day to day, and she's always in tune to the individual needs of our employees. And so if they have some challenges, particularly during this pandemic, whether it's an ill family member, bringing up children during these challenging times of in-school learning, hybrid learning, at-home learning. And so one of the things even pre-COVID, we've always done is everyone has personal challenges in their life on the home front. Everyone. There's no such thing as a smooth ride through life. And so when there's hiccups, we always care for our employees to ask them, how can we help? What can we do to make it more workable for you at home? And so, and in turn, they are grateful to us that we're accommodating. So sometimes it's flex hours, sometimes it's changing shifts. Sometimes it's individuals who always were happy in their certain job, but all of a sudden they have greater financial needs and want to learn more. And so we give them an opportunity to say that they desire more training, and we give them the more training they would like to gain, to have an opportunity to earn better wages, et cetera. So really being flexible and accommodating to their individual needs is something that we'll never sacrifice on behalf of our employees. We'll always make sure that we're looking out for them.
Okay. That's awesome. It sounds like you're attracting great talent to the organization and keeping them there, which is so important. I think a lot of companies have had if they weren't doing that before, kind of have to relook at the benefits for their employees to try and stay competitive.
No question.
Well, Buffalo, you're watching Western New York at Work with Dale Martin and Lauren Lewis. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to have more of this fantastic conversation with Gerry Murak.
Western New York at Work is brought to you by our key business partners and many business professionals.
Bocce's Club Pizza, Staff Buffalo, CAI, Hope Buffalo, Embassy Suites, 716 Limousine.
When I was 10, my mom got deported. We had a difficult time, and I feel that's why I didn't get to finish school. My husband is really supportive in a way that he pushed me to go back to school.
She wants to have a career so her kids can look up to her.
They both keep me motivated to go to school, and they see that if I do it, like they can do it too, I feel that everything's possible.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back to Western New York at Work. I am Lauren Lewis with my co-host Dale Martin, and we're with Gerry Murak, who's the chairman at SoPark. And Gerry has really shared a lot of great information with us about SoPark and everything that they do as the largest contract electronics manufacturing service provider in Western New York. Gerry, where do you see the future of manufacturing going within Western New York?
Well, as we all know, manufacturing in general has decreased in our country for a number of years now. One only needs to take a ride down Route 5 and see what happened with Bethlehem Steel and the tens of thousands of jobs that aren't there anymore. And there's no question that more is being made at lower cost and through all these advances, and it's making the world extremely competitive and will continue to be competitive regardless of who the world leaders are and or what kind of governments they have. Because corporations don't know countries and don't know governments. What they know is their business. And when I was young, there was predictions that the wealth of the world is going to move from countries to companies. And I just never could imagine that in my life. But the reality is now that today the wealth of the world belongs to corporations. And so the wealth has shifted. And so corporations are going to continue to source the world and sell the world, but there will always be niche entities like contract electronic manufacturing in producing circuit assemblies, say, for medical devices. Well, that's why, yes, we're Western Europe's largest contract electronics manufacturer, but every metropolitan area in this country, in fact, in the world, has regional contract electronic manufacturers. Yes, we do ship to other countries, and yes, we sell to other states, et cetera. But by and large, it tends to be regional because those customers don't want to wait long for their circuit board assemblies in terms of transit, even though technology and shipping is faster.
Well, Gerry, I tell you, we can't thank you enough for being a part of today's show. At this point, this is where we shift to parting thoughts. Are there any final thoughts, anything you want to share with our audience today that we haven't touched upon?
Yeah, something I really believe in is that all individuals and organizations and businesses really need to focus on simplicity in this complex world. It's so difficult to unravel sometimes the complexities, not just of COVID, but of the speed of change and technology and processes and procedures. Simplification is very important to success in business and life, and even for an individual, work-life balance. Simplifying and focusing brings a lot more happiness to an individual, and then they bring that to whether they work in a for-profit or nonprofit. The other is, something my late father taught me: to leave things better than you find them. And I think that if everyone did that when you walk down the street and see a piece of paper, or this morning when I picked up our garbage can and brought it back to the house, there was a piece of paper blown in the street. I could have let it just keep blowing down the street, but I went over and picked it up and threw it out. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that it's just something we should all be doing, whether it's a piece of litter on the ground or it's at our job. What can we do to leave things better than we find them? And what can we do to leave people better than we find them?
And Gerry, if someone's looking to learn more about SoPark, how can they find more information on SoPark Corporation?
SoPark.com.
Awesome.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Gerry. You have a wonderful day and stay safe.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Gerry.
Oh, you're welcome. Best to both of you, and God
Thank you
bless.
again.
Yeah, bye-bye.